I have a very interesting topic for today, which is very relevant for today's time and something which all of you are looking forward to, which is around future of work. We keep talking about that work has changed forever, and this is a topic everyone is interested to hear on in terms of what is in it in the future. In order to have a great chat, you of course need a powerful and an experienced person in this field. And I am very pleased today that I have a very special guest who is an expert in this area. This person is working as a senior partner at PwC, running the people and organization practice, and also is a lead for India around skilling and upskilling digital workplaces and driving future of work with various clients. A lot of you are familiar with her, a lot of you don't know her, but this is the time for you to know her better. None other than Chaitali Mukherjee from PwC India. Chaitali, welcome to the show and thank you for taking time out.
Always a pleasure.
And be with us.
Always a pleasure, Ketan. And as you know, HP is my second home. So welcome to me as well. Thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you. Really pleasure to have you. This is the first time we are having this kind of a format, an interactive format by which we want to talk about various subjects which are interesting for our people. We are starting with internal audience first, and we will be transitioning to customers over a period of time. As you know, this topic is about future of work, and you have done tremendous work, and I read your research which you published around 7-8 months back.
That's right.
What a fantastic work, Chaitali, on that. I think you went through a lot of industry leaders and a lot of work done, a deep analysis around this entire changing landscape of how the work is going to change forever.
Yeah.
So would like to just open remarks with some initial thoughts of your around this entire future of work, which is a big topic of today.
Sure. So quite interestingly, Ketan, the biggest shift, what we wrote 8 months back or 10 months back has also changed.
Yes.
So when we were talking about future of work about 8 or 10 months back, which was about 8 months from the pandemic, the focus was how do we get productivity, how do we understand virtual world, and you were one of the leaders that we interviewed out of the 250 leaders. And quite interestingly, one very interesting outcome was the world will never be the same.
Correct.
So now in 8 months from then, we have a world which is very different from what got discussed. But the learnings, the facts have gotten established. And one of the big ones that I want to talk about is 8 months back, people understood virtual world. People understood digital world. But now we are in a hybrid world.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, Ketan, most people don't understand how virtual and hybrid world are different.
Very interesting. I agree with you because generally there is a perception about virtual world, hybrid world, it's probably the same, but they are totally different things.
Yes.
And you are right, last 8 months that definitions are changing significantly. Will be good to hear your insights on that topic.
So, I'll give you an example. Virtual world was when we transitioned from working in offices to completely everybody was literally online, right?
Sure.
And that was the expectation.
Yeah.
And in that world, which is being coined either as the virtual world or the digital world, the expectations were productivity, the expectations were connectivity.
Yeah.
And now we are in a world where different people are choosing different things, which is truly hybrid world.
Yeah.
Now imagine I have a team of about 20 people. Some of them are in office, some of them are in homes where we don't have offices, so they are tier 3, tier 4 cities, something we were chatting just now.
Yeah.
Some of them are not even my full-time employees, they are gigs but super specialists, but we need to treat them like our teams, right?
Sure.
Because our productivity, our business, everything is dependent on them. And by the way, some of them are robots.
Yeah.
So white collar, metal collar, all coming together is truly the hybrid world. Now, how I can operate in a digital world or in a virtual world is very different from how I can operate in a hybrid world. We all have lived that, right? Where we would have 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours of sitting in front of our what I would call as a box, but I can't call it box in HP because you all make most of those boxes. We have great
products to ensure that people can actually sit long hours comfortably. Yes.
So you all make most of those boxes which have enabled everyone.
Yeah.
But in a hybrid world, you are also sitting in a car.
Yeah.
You're also flying.
Yeah.
And you're also sitting in front of those lovely products which are designed to be stationed and be used, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is really reimagining how we will work, who will do what, and how do we enable it. Because the last thing you want is you have a bunch of people at the office, and all of them are sitting and doing Zoom calls or team calls or Google calls, whatever, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I tell you, the people are now starting realizing as things are slowly opening up. We are still not open fully.
Yes.
That's why you can see my office in the way it is. But one of the big challenges, and to the point of hybrid versus virtual, is you expect now people to be on the Zoom calls the way you are expecting for the last 15 months. While the world has started a little bit of physical, you are somewhere, some people are in office, some people are meeting clients. How are you participating in those calls? People expect you to be part of it, but this entire transformation of this world has to be learned. I don't think a lot of people know. Still, virtual, I agree, probably we have mastered the art in the last 15, 18 months.
Yes.
Hybrid is a lot of work to be done yet, but I think it's an important concept for everyone to understand that they are two different, distinct things, and probably future of work more or less is a hybrid, right?
Absolutely,
and that's how it is.
Absolutely.
Clearly, and we are never going to go back to that original world, even if COVID has to go completely, because
hope so. Ketan, human beings have a very short memory.
I agree.
So I'm hoping we never get there, because this hybrid world has huge advantages.
Absolutely, yes.
But that advantage can be crystallized if we understand it well. If we look at the hybrid world from the lens of a virtual or a digital world, we will perhaps not get the best value.
Correct.
Let me give you a few examples.
Sure.
For instance, my workforce model. The moment I become hybrid, I understand what are the jobs that can be done virtually from anywhere and forever. And the moment I am able to unlock that opportunity, I am able to unlock talent which is sitting in tier 3, tier 4 cities who don't want to move out. And they have made their choice to be there. Now I have the opportunity to get to them.
To tap into that talent.
Right? Second, I have this massive opportunity of opening up myself to gigs who are really talented people, but I can't actually afford them full time, because they come with intense value that they bring to the table.
There's a subject matter expertise.
They are SMEs, right? But I don't need them all the time. So my workforce model can actually redefine what it needs. However, the biggest challenge of hybrid workforce or workplace is going to be leadership.
Absolutely, always.
Because leadership will have to understand that not everybody will be able to come in a single frame.
Got it.
Not everybody at the beck and call can take a call. And
I think
that's the real challenge. Our comfort of having the whole team in front of me, earlier in person to now on smaller windows, needs to go.
And people have to set expectations, and that's a big topic. We'll talk and touch upon that. That's a very important point. But thanks for building this up. Before we go to the next portion of the same theme, I think it's a good start of making people understand the difference between virtual and hybrid.
Absolutely.
So thank you for setting the context.
Pleasure.
So let's go to the next theme, which is very important for our people to also understand. As you know, especially for salespeople.
Right.
Customers, channel partners, everything is all relationship based, right? Eventually you develop relationship over a number of years, spend time. Now this is a big problem for people. Like some people are new joinees in the company, they don't know a lot of our channel partners, customers are new for them. Even old timers, they want to go to new customers. How do you develop that, right? And this is becoming a bit of a bit of a frustration. Everybody is understanding that the productivity and other areas are really improving in a hybrid world. But there is a nuance of that physical touch point of customers and building relationship you can't miss. So this is a bit of a dialogue which is happening now as to how do salespeople continue to build strong relationships while of course being more productive as per needs of the clients, to be more virtual, because a lot of customers also want you to meet virtually now rather than just do physical meetings. So in your research or your experience on this area, what will be your advice to our people, because this is a big thing they are looking out from all of us.
In fact, Ketan, this is a fantastic call out, because as they say, charity begins at home. Our biggest challenge is about solving it internally, and so much so that we are actually not thinking much about outside. And this is also a problem that is an ecosystem problem. let's imagine that, and I'm coming from the consulting world, so I
Sure.
can say that for you. We live for our customers, right?
Right.
If my customers are actually expecting us to be at workplaces,
Right.
what do I do?
Correct.
If my customers are expecting me to work virtually, what should I do? And how do I create my strategy around what my customers are seeking? Now, this is where I will, my thoughts, couple of things. Number one, if we as an organization will not be clear about our hybrid strategy, our people will dilly-dally and our people will not know what to do. So, that's number one. As an organization, what is our point of view on how to operate? That's one. The second one is, I think there is a blessing in disguise for HP. We know there is a complete change in strategy from core to service orientation.
Services orientation, yeah.
My entire core business across the globe, not just India, right, was heavily focused on years of relationship.
Right.
And that years of relationship was also quite interestingly built on the back of you and I socializing.
Correct.
It sometimes gets me so close to the customer that my ability to think new and different and distant from the customer takes a toss, right?
Yeah.
Now when we have the opportunity to think a new platform, this is also, I would say, a way of new beginnings. Can we start thinking in the new business model, in the new operating model, which is not just core, but also about enabling as a service, how do I redefine my customer relationship journey?
Yeah. And in fact, we have a concept called outcome-based business models, right, which is about really going and understanding customer needs more deeply, and then what outcomes we are going to deliver, irrespective of the product, service or solution we are going to offer to. I think the way industry is moving, even the customer expectations will be moving with brands like us very differently. So while the traditional model of thinking is that yes, relationships are important, I don't deny that. Eventually you close the deal, the trust with the customer is all basis the relationships. But some of these models changing will also shift the way customer thinks about relationship with individual salesperson or a brand or a company, whoever they are dealing with, right? So yeah, this is another area which I think is a lot of work to be done. I'm sure the maturity will happen both at a customer and at our end also as we move forward. But any other area which you want to touch upon in this?
So two things on this one, you know, the moment we think customer, in addition to the fact that we need to have clarity about it and we convert that to suit our business model or operating model because we are changing, I think human being, if given a choice, would like to be in solitude when it comes to work. And this is a reality. And 18 months have given us enough food for thought to stand up and say, why can't I do it? So a little bit of push to stand up and choose those pieces where I really need to be in front of the customer is going to be a need that the organization will have to define. And finally, this whole digital workplace, this is an interesting time for us to kind of define it, right? There is a huge responsibility resting on organizations like ours, like HP.
Sure.
Because our vendors, partners, channels, they are looking up to us to say which direction are you going and hence which direction should I take.
Because they will be looking at us and then making their own strategies.
So when we start defining our new hybrid workplace, workforce and work model, and this is where we need to stand up and say what are the pieces of work that can be done in front of the customer, what are the pieces that don't necessarily need to be done physically in front of the customer. We have the opportunity to set the paradigm. So let's put it that way. So this is two beginnings, right? It is both setting the paradigm for the ecosystem and also enabling what I call as our new equation, our new model.
Very interesting thoughts, and thank you for sharing, because I think this is one topic which has to become clear as we move forward again and again, because this is an evolving thing and probably one of the biggest challenges our people are facing today.
Absolutely.
We will talk about the third interesting area now, which is about management of change, because eventually hybrid, we spoke about virtual, we spoke about how we develop relationships, probably carve out special time to develop relationship with the customers while being effective. But the most important thing, which is also area which I want to touch upon next is around expectations from leaders, managers and employees, because this is changing significantly, right? And the way a leader was looking at the things in the way to run an organization, or the way manager were managing the team or a business or a function, and the way employees are also setting expectations is changing dramatically. It will be good to get your perspective in the next section as we go forward on this area.
Of course, of course.
So, we'll be happy to hear your thoughts around this entire topic about expectations from leaders, managers, employees, of how they need to reinvent themselves in this future of work.
If you ask me, Ketan, this is perhaps the toughest one. Because let's look at it this way, in 18 months, nobody thought when it started off that it will last this long. Right? And we yet do not know where it ends. Number one. Number two, there isn't a single soul who can stand up and say, this hasn't impacted them at a personal level.
I agree.
And what do I mean by that? There have been moments of frustration for everybody, which has made them reflect and look at life very differently. So the moot piece in this entire equation today is, a leader is also an individual operating at some level, the manager is an individual, and the individual anyways is an individual operating at some level. Our ability to think from the eyes of every individual in the organization, be it a leader, be it a manager, be it an individual contributor, and start thinking, what is that individual's purpose driver? Once that purpose or driver is understood, how does that align with the organization's larger purpose becomes a very big one. Earlier in an organization's equation, the organization could afford to stand up and say that I stand in a position of priority. Today, that positioning of priorities is kind of
probably
diluted.
Both equal.
Both are equal.
You need to understand the employees or a leader or a manager's priority and purpose, and organization purpose.
Absolutely. So I say, the workplace is no more workplace. That's what hybrid is, workspace. And the second is, earlier workplaces were for the people. Now workplaces are of the people. So the moment it is a workspace or a workplace of the people, our ability to connect the individual's purpose to the organization and incentivize that person, literally not through money but through purpose, to get that person to come and give his or her services to the organization has become the epitome. And this is not going to be an easy one, because let's think of this equation. I at a leader level, you as the country head have a few aspirations. Your immediate direct reports and the level under them have a few motivations, drivers, and then the teams have different motivations. The multiplier effect of connecting all these individual purposes to the organization purpose is not going to be an easy one. And that's where again I believe the workforce model is going to be super critical. I will have to pick and choose. I will have to prioritize. What priorities to align? What workforce do I absolutely need within the system? Because beyond a certain point, I will not be able to cater to so many individual aspirations and purposes. And this will also change. At some point, I will need these people and their aspirations to be aligned. At some stage, I will need someone else. So this makes the job of the leader uber difficult, and we don't have a set template from the past. And I think
for
that's
leaders, there was never a set template any which ways, right?
But we found comfort sometime
in a certain way.
Right now, we have to define that, and I think that's the real opportunity and the challenge.
And tell me, like one of the things, like leaders probably want to have all people in front of them, that I want to do a meeting where I can see 10 people in front of me, then only I'll get satisfaction of a certain outcome.
Correct.
For sure, there will be some discussions where you will need that physical presence of people. But how do you see that mindset changing? Because there are people who are, newly coming to the workforce, probably relatively easier for them.
Yes.
People who are tuned to work for 20 years, 25 years in a certain fashion, very successful so far.
Yes,
to
yes,
be fair
of
to
course.
their work styles, right?
Yeah.
They are super successful. What they are in their careers are because of that style,
Of course.
which has made them successful. How do they change their own expectations, right? Because now the same leader or a manager has to operate and be effective in a way which is very different than what he or she has been over the last 20-25 years.
So this is getting into the science of continuous discontinuous change, Ketan. There are two ways when change happens really well. When the change is absolutely discontinuous, one fine day pandemic happened, people transitioned and they found their way. The other is to keep it incremental. To keep it so incremental that people just slip into it and don't realize. I think right now we have brute force that has acted and has moved us in one direction. We will now have to find a way to incrementally, in a continuous manner, make the change happen. The best way to do that is, let's not be in a hurry to define the rules until we don't know what's the future state.
Works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we will need to keep doing it on a continuous basis and see where we land.
And look at incremental opportunities of improvement, and because there's, as you rightly mentioned, there's no template.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. That's one. I think the most important one for leaders, tenured leaders who have set ways of what has given them success. My message to them is, the ones who will change faster will get successful faster. So it's a conversation that maybe we all will need to do with ourselves.
Sure.
It is no more about how uncomfortable I am. It is more about how uncomfortable is my team.
Yeah, and you need to be assessing it very smartly, right?
Exactly.
Am I creating that environment of comfort?
Yes.
But I tell you, one of the things culturally, India, like I worked in Singapore, and when I went there for the first time, one of the big things was that I can reject a calendar invite of my boss.
Of course.
Right?
And
in
that's
India,
a big
it was
deal.
not
Yes,
thought
yes,
of.
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes,
let's be fair about it. But
absolutely.
I think in the last 18 months, one thing which has worked out very well for India also is that people are very clear that oh yes, this meeting is important, I'm supposed to be in this meeting, I will be there, but there will be certain meetings where probably I may not be required, and it's okay for me to decline, or I have other priority, and the manager, the leader has to be mature, and the employee also has to be given that comfort that organization will not look at you in a different way if you do this. As long as you are effective, as long as you are productive, as long as you are giving results what is expected out of you, I think it's okay. I think this change management we have to go through.
And it's a mindset change, right? And I think it's a great example you've given. Hierarchical change is required. And that's not about removing designations or levels. It's in the mind of how we operate. So I think the big one as a leader, as an individual, number one, I'll say three things, right? Number one, ensure when you're taking decisions, you don't take those decisions around your comfort, you take it around your team's comfort. Because they are critical to your success. One. Second, how well are you thinking about the purpose of each one of them and whose purpose is most critical, and deciding how you want it. And third, just slip it in. Let it be incremental. Don't be in a hurry to have the perfect world. And I think these three things will be very critical.
Very interesting thoughts, Chaitali, and amazing topics you touched today. Three broad areas we spoke, but so relevant for the organization, not only for HP, but probably if somebody beyond HP is also listening to our talk, will be very relevant, because when we talk to our customers, this is the topic they are dealing with. Because at a customer premises, and that's why our approach to sales is also changing, because their expectations of how the IT infrastructure will be also changing.
Absolutely.
Because of the way the hybrid workforce will be managed, and hence it's very important to understand the aspect of it beyond our product and services, right? Of how a customer is thinking holistically, and that is where HP will be able to position, even from a customer standpoint, better. Of course, internally we have to create an environment which is conducive for future of work, the way we spoke, and also we can actually lead the game from a customer standpoint also. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Always a pleasure talking to you. And I'll pass on to you in case you want to ask few things which you think is relevant.
Let's try to understand Ketan Patel, the leader.
Okay.
Who in this future of work has been operating differently? What are your learnings? Let's do a very quick rapid fire with you. All right?
Okay, so I'm on the hot seat.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Okay, come, let's sit here.
Sure.
And have the rapid fire.
All right, so let's see. So the first one, okay?
Yes.
What has been your biggest discovery about your challenges in the last 18 months?
The biggest discovery is that I am operating in a new role for the last 16 months without meeting probably 90% of the people. Not met yet.
Right.
10% of the people I got to meet just in the last month or so as things opened up. But that has been a big challenge. Somebody who has been managing such a large market and not able to meet any of the team members has been a big challenge. And I really feel that's a big missing piece in my job last 15-16 months, because it helps me to understand my people better. It helps them to understand me better. While whatever best of the class technologies we make, you will not be able to understand each other best in the best possible way without at least meeting few times. You don't need to meet every time. So I think that has been my biggest, I would say, discovery in that sense. That has been a challenge in some sense.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one. So let's go to the next one. Your biggest fear, Ketan?
I think my biggest fear is pandemic is teaching us one thing, which is about, and I was actually doing a show with someone on topic of sustainability.
Right.
And one of the fear is that what pandemic is teaching all of us is that this is just a start of potentially a lot of things which can go wrong in the world. In our business, pandemic has actually helped us a lot.
Yes, indeed.
Because our business just went into a different kind of a scale because everybody need our products. But imagine if this kind of a situation happens, something reverse,
absolutely,
which can completely destroy our business. To me, that's the biggest fear. So I think this entire purpose of making world a better place and creating ideas which can really unleash the potential of the world to a different level is something what we are really looking at. Because if something like this happens again, pandemic, no pandemic, some other tragedy in the world can shatter everything. And that's what, if you ask me, is the biggest fear.
Absolutely, because the unpredictability has gone multifold.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is that one capability you are building for yourself as you're thinking about the future?
We chatted about it a while back. I think one of the things which, like, I'm also 25 years in the industry, but I am not very sure, am I really as effective with customers in a virtual world as I am in a physical world?
Sure.
Right? Because, and this is something which I am also learning, because it's important that I learn this, because my people may need me at times to be there in front of the customers, and also for building relationships, etc. I have to be there. But how do you make an effective conversation at a leadership level with other leader of other company is something which is a journey. I have learned a lot over the last 12 months, but I would say a lot to cover still. And if you have good coaches, please let me know. I'll be ready to learn.
Perhaps the last one, Ketan, your biggest advice to your team, because there are two changes that are happening over here. There is a 10-year strategy that HP has put up, which is dramatically different from who we are, what we do, and then there is this whole hybrid world of work.
Yeah.
What's your biggest piece of advice to your leaders, to your team, to your all employees?
I think we clearly need a fearless attitude in the company. When I say fearless attitude, doesn't mean that, okay, let me give you a context of what I mean by fearless attitude. Fearless attitude is about creating a culture in the company where everybody is heard. Without somebody is able to put their ideas, without having any fear that, okay, how I will be judged or how I will be looked upon. And that comfort has to be given by managers and leaders, that every idea is a good idea, even if you don't do certain things about it. How do you create that culture? Because the reason why it is important is the way our businesses are shifting, the way digital transformation is happening at a rapid pace. If we continue to do our business the same way, what we've been doing till last year, which is a more transactional led business and not outcome based, we will be challenged very soon.
Sure.
It is extremely important, and that's why it's not that we have perfected the art of outcome based. We are in the journey. We just started, and hence this culture of being fearless and able to put across our idea and the environment which we create in the company, I think that will make a huge difference to the growth of the organization. I don't have any doubt on capability of the people. HP India has one of the best talent in the industry. We have discussed this in the past.
Yep.
But I think it's about adjusting now to this new normal and making sure that what are you making actions individually. We spoke about managers, leaders, and creating this culture of fearless. I think that to me is my biggest point I would say to my people.
So you are touching upon something very, very important. We call it implicit voice in the organization. Our employees truly having a voice. And I think we just spoke about how future of work is all about employee voice. So I think what a fantastic, fantastic conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Ketan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chaitali, once again for joining. It's always been a pleasure whenever we talk to you. So thank you again.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Team, so this was Chaitali Mukherjee from PwC talking about future of work. What an interesting conversation. This is something which is going to bind our company together as we develop the new culture. And you heard she talking about ideas around how hybrid versus virtual, how different it is, and how we need to really embrace this in a different way. How a leader, how a manager, and how an employee has to adjust to these changes and make sure this is a new way of living with purpose as a prime driver. And finally, as I said, and I concluded in my rapid fire, that we want a fearless culture in the organization in order to drive outcomes which are going to be amazing for our company. Thank you for watching. We'll have more interesting series coming where you will all be participating together with me. Thank you.